Alrighty, YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. Week 10 is officially here. We finally have 49ers football back after last week's bye week, which is a good thing because one thing I kind of always look at is like, obviously through the first half of the season, depending on when the 49ers have their bye week, it's always good to get that out of the way because then, for the remainder of the season, you know that you don't have to deal with the 49ers being off and having a bye week. So now that we're past that, and the bye week couldn't have came at a better time considering the 49ers are a pretty banged-up team right now, it's good to know that we won't go another week without watching the 49ers play for the remainder in the rest of the regular season. So, in this video, I'm going to be getting in. This is the preview video, so I'm going to be getting into keys to win, the injury report going into the game, and things of that nature. So I guess we'll start with the injury report, and this is updated as soon as yesterday in terms of like who's practiced and who's not practiced. But I'm going to be doing my best to give I guess, not updates, but I'm going to be pretty much like guessing on who will go into the game as active, who's going to go into the game as questionable, and things of that nature. Because up until this point, of course, the 49ers still have one more practice today before they fly out to Jacksonville. And, of course, there's still question marks on some of the guys that are currently injured for the 49ers. So I will start with Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, of course, is active going into this game. He is ready to go. He is finally fully healed from his hairline shoulder fracture that he suffered in the Week 6 game versus the Cleveland Browns. Deebo being back is huge, of course. I've talked about, Brock Purdy's stats when Deebo is on the field and then, opposed to Deebo not being on the field, and it's a pretty big difference. So obviously getting Deebo back, he's one of the best 49ers players all in all. You guys know how Deebo is as a player, physical runner. He keeps the defense on their toes. And when you pair Deebo Samuel along with Ayuk and Kittle and McCaffrey on this 49ers offense, it's even more deadly. And the 49ers haven't had Deebo Samuel the past 3 weeks. It's clearly hurt the 49ers. It's hurt Brock Purdy. Because, going back to, the first 5 weeks of the season, one of Brock Purdy's favorite targets was Deebo Samuel. And, with him being out the past 3 weeks, it's clearly hurt Brock Purdy and this offense moving forward. So anytime a guy like Deebo is out, it's going to hurt the team. And knowing that he is back and he's fully ready to go for this game is massive for the 49ers. And I've already covered this. I covered this earlier in the week. So Deebo is ready to go. He will be active for Week 10 versus the Jaguars. And then shifting in Trent Williams' direction, and I talked about this yesterday. Trent Williams was a limited participant in practice yesterday. I talked about yesterday in the video where I went over Trent Williams being back at practice. I wasn't sure at the time if he was a limited participant or if they listed him as a full participant. My guess in that video was that he was a limited participant, and obviously that came to fruition. So Trent Williams officially was listed as a limited participant in yesterday's practice, and the reason I figured he was a limited participant was simply because it was his first practice back for like the past month, and clearly he's not going to come out and immediately be a full participant being off of football, and I guess not. He wouldn't be a full participant coming back from practice on a pretty serious injury, especially an ankle injury. So I kind of figured that Trent Williams would be a limited participant, and obviously he was. So it'll be interesting today to see if he will be a full participant or a limited participant. To be completely honest, I think he'll be limited again. I think, again, knowing how long he's been off of practice, it wouldn't make any sense for the 49ers to throw him in there as a full participant one day after being limited. So I imagine this Trent Williams situation is kind of going to work out like this. He's going to be limited today. It's probably going to be another pain tolerance type of thing. He's probably going to go into the game as questionable. And then from there, I think it's kind of a 50-50. I think Trent Williams, personally, I think he's got to sack up and play. I think he's got to put tape on that ankle and play. Now, if he has a high risk of re-aggravating or re-injuring that ankle, I don't think he plays. But at the same time, I think if it's at that stage where, it's more so a pain tolerance type of thing, and if it's as serious as the 49ers and people are making it out to be, I don't think that he would be practicing at all this week. So it's good to know that he was at least a limited participant yesterday, because obviously that's a step in the right direction. But my best guess is that Trent Williams will be limited today, and then they'll list him as either questionable going into the Jacksonville game or doubtful. Personally, I think he'll be listed as questionable, and it'll probably be like a game-time decision. But to me, if I was a gambling man, I'm going to put my money on him playing against the Jaguars. I think, with Debo being back and with this 49ers team being as healthy as, I guess, going into this game, trying to be as healthy as they possibly can be, and with them kind of in a situation where they need to get back on in the win column, I think the 49ers will play Trent Williams, or I think Trent Williams will play. So that's fingers crossed on that. I mean, that's my best guess. But obviously we'll have to see how things kind of unravel and unfold. But as of right now, I think that, Trent Williams, knowing that he was limited yesterday, I think he ends up playing against the Jaguars. And then obviously moving on to Aaron Banks, the left guard for the 49ers. He's got turf toe. It's already been out there that he's going to be out at least the next 2 weeks, which doesn't help. So really the only more notable injury we're going to have going into this game, of course, I'm talking in terms of this as if Trent Williams will be playing. The most notable injury the 49ers will have in this game will be Aaron Banks. Now, as far as people being limited in practice, here's a new one. Javon Hargrave had a knee issue and was limited in yesterday's practice. Obviously, Drake Jackson has been limited as well with his knee issue. I talked about that earlier in the week. Now, Dre Greenlaw early in the week was limited as well. I believe he had a knee issue. But as far as being a full participant, he was yesterday. Robert Beal Jr., 49ers rookie defensive end, was a full participant in practice, so he's on the right track to come back. Cornerback Darrell Luter, he is finally a full participant. Ray McLeod was dealing with an injury, of course, an illness. But Ray was a full participant yesterday. That's a good step in the right direction. And here's one for the Niners, for Niners fans. Samuel Womack, second-year corner, had a very, very promising rookie season. He was finally a full participant as well. So very good news for the 49ers injury report. I definitely think at this point in the season going into Week 10, it could have been much worse as far as 49ers injuries go, because we know the history with the 49ers injuries. This team's had trouble staying healthy for quite some time now. And I think, with knowing who's I guess healthy going into this game, and then some of the guys that aren't, like the 49ers this has probably been one of the more, I'm not going to say healthier seasons that we've had, because clearly we haven't had Debo and Trent Williams for the past month, but it could always be worse. Like the 49ers always get riddled with injuries, and I guess up until this point in Week 10 in the season, it's good to know that everybody should be back except for Aaron Banks. So, I mean, and I'm talking as if, the past couple seasons, a lot of the star players have been banged up. Like, you look at Trent Williams was hurt last year. Debo was hurt last year, dealt with injuries. Kittle was banged up a lot. A lot of these guys have been banged up the last couple seasons, and it's good knowing that we're at Week 10 right now, which we're, more than midway through the season, and this 49ers team is fairly healthy. So that's good news regarding injuries for the 49ers. Again, I expect Trent Williams to play. I definitely think that if he's a limited yesterday, I imagine he's limited today, and then it's probably going to be a situation where they are going to kind of monitor his situation, make sure that, his pain tolerance is pretty low before they probably list him as active going into Sunday. But again, I expect him to be a 50-50 going into this game, and I expect the Niners to be cautious with the decision, but ultimately I think it'll come down to Trent Williams will play, and that'll be huge for the Niners, especially knowing that defensive end Josh Allen for the Jaguars is on the other side of the ball, and that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch for Sunday's game. So, now moving on from injuries, we go into keys to win this football game. I think it's very, very simple for the 49ers. I think Kyle Shanahan during the bye week, there was a couple press conferences I seen Kyle Shanahan, and he looked pretty haggard. He looked like he didn't sleep a lot. And I'm going to take that as a good sign because I'm sure these past 3 weeks have kept Kyle Shanahan up more than what he probably should have been. But I think all in all, Kyle Shanahan is going to do absolutely everything in his power to make sure the 49ers win this game. And that's why I feel comfortable going into this game thinking that the 49ers will win. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say that they're going to win by 30 points, they're going to win by 7, they're going to win by 10. This is going to be a very close game. The Jaguars are a good football team. Trevor Lawrence is playing very well. They're one of the most balanced offenses in the National Football League, all in all. I definitely think you look at their offensive line. Their offensive line has been fairly good. I think they could always, looking at their offensive line and knowing how they played this season, I think Jaguars fans could look at that and say, they can play better. But the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line has been pretty good. Their defense has been pretty well as well. So this team Jacksonville has a very balanced team. They're a very good football team. They're playing good football. They haven't lost since September. They're coming off of a 5-game win streak. Jacksonville's also coming off of their bye week. So, this is a game where it's going to be interesting in terms of, seeing how Jacksonville comes out of their bye week. This is going to be a game where, the 49ers are going to have to be on their A game. The 49ers can't screw up this game. They have to limit turnovers. They have to get to the quarterback. And I think, all in all, the biggest thing is the run game has to be working tomorrow. I think that's probably the biggest. I'll start with that. So the biggest key, in my opinion, for the 49ers to win this game tomorrow is actually not getting to Trevor Lawrence, because I think Jacksonville has had situations where they have turned the ball over. And I think, if obviously getting to the quarterback and whatnot is always going to be a key to win the game. But more importantly than that, I think getting Christian McCaffrey the rock and just running him tomorrow like a deer will be one of the bigger keys to win this football game, especially if Trent Williams is back. Obviously, over the past 3 weeks, and I talked about this yesterday, but in the past 3 weeks, the 49ers have averaged 90 yards per game rushing, which is pretty good, I'm not going to lie, but we also have Christian McCaffrey, so that's not surprising. The previous 5 weeks, they have averaged a whopping 150 yards rushing per game, and I talked about that as well yesterday when I talked about how the 49ers can fix their biggest problems. Now, if you look at the last 3 weeks, the 49ers haven't been able to have Trent Williams. I think that is a big reason why the 49ers haven't been able to run the ball as good as they should be running the ball. Getting Trent Williams back is massive for the 49ers if that comes to fruition. I think it starts with running the football. Run the damn ball. I mean, that's all. It's simple. Look, the 49ers have the best running back in the National Football League. If Trent Williams is back and playing, they need to run the shit out of the football. They need to control the game with running the football. And I think they can do that well against Jacksonville. I'm not really sure where Jacksonville ranks right now in terms of rushing defense. I can look it up right now, though. It looks like they come in at... So they're about the middle of the pack, actually. Yeah. They're about the middle. They're middle, pretty much middle pack. They're like right, probably like the 15, 16, 17th best team against the run. So they're shaky against the run. Um, they're averaging 100. They're giving up 170. Excuse me, no yards per game. They've let up 634 yards, rushing yards, so far this year. Um, it looks like they were 23rd against the run, and they're giving up an average of 342 total yards per game. So, I mean, look, Jaguars defense is shaky, right? They have a great defense. They don't get to the quarterback as well, like very, very well, but they can stop the run, and they have stopped the run in the past. In their past 5 games, they've been very well against the run in their past couple games. But as far as like getting to the quarterback, they're not really known for getting to the quarterback, but they've been better in terms of stopping the run and limiting the run, better than they have been getting to the quarterback. So that's obviously, something that the 49ers are going to have to do well, in terms of like winning this football game. So, run the football. I think another biggest key going into this game is, and it's going back to, what I was just talking about, and that's getting to the quarterback. Look, keys for the 49ers to win football games is going to be the same pretty much week in and week out. Look, you went and got Chase Young. Chase Young is going to be having a massive role in this Niners defense. It's going to be interesting to see how the 49ers run defense improves with getting Chase Young. It's also going to be interesting to see how their pass rush will improve as well. But I think with Steve Wilks during the bye week, with him coaching from the sideline Sunday, and him probably making tweaks to the defense. Hopefully, we're going to be seeing more man coverage Sunday. Hopefully, we're going to be seeing more opportunities for the defensive line to get to the quarterback. This is all going to be interesting to see how this defense comes out and plays on Sunday. But I think the biggest thing for Jacksonville is like they're probably going to be targeting outside throws, outside the numbers and things of that nature. And that's what the 49ers have struggled with the entire season, is when quarterbacks target outside numbers against this 49ers secondary. The Niners secondary has been terrible at, guarding outside passes all season. So I think limiting limiting passes outside the numbers is also another key. So I think, secondary stepping up, limiting passes outside the numbers. I think that goes hand in hand with the pass rush getting home, though. I think tomorrow Sunday we have to see Nick Bosa and company not just getting pressures, because they're a top team in the league at getting quarterback pressures, but I need to see sacks. We all need to see sacks. One of the biggest things for the 49ers Sunday is not getting to the quarterback, but it's actually getting sacks. I'm tired of seeing pressures. At the end of the day, Trevor Lawrence is a high-level quarterback that is well under pressure. So getting to Trevor Lawrence is not just going to mean that, we're going to have success on the defensive side of the ball. You have to get to Trevor Lawrence and sack him. So getting sacks, run game, and I think, third one is going back to the secondary, limiting passes outside the numbers. The 49ers have to be better at that. And hopefully if the 49ers are more in a man coverage type of look Sunday, hopefully that's, hopefully that will help. Not man, I meant zone. Hopefully if they're in more of a zone coverage type of deal, that should help the 49ers in terms of, limiting passes outside the numbers. So those are my keys for the 49ers to win tomorrow. I think you give it to your best player, Christian McCaffrey. You get sacks on Trevor Lawrence, and you limit the outside passes. I think if you do those 3 things pretty well tomorrow, the 49ers should win this football game fine. Now, I definitely think Kyle Shanahan has a pretty calculated game plan going into this game. I think he knows that Kyle Shanahan, in dire need, he wants to win this football game. So as far as score predictions, I'm taking the Niners, and I feel more comfortable about taking the Niners this week than I did against the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, man, I think it really just comes down to, Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams being on track to play. I think I trust Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers staff a little bit more to have a calculated game plan, and that goes back to my point in saying, Kyle Shanahan's probably been up long hours this week figuring out a precise game plan to attack the Jaguars' defense this week. I also think, in terms of getting Chase Young, we're going to have, a better run defense. Hopefully, he's going to be able to set the edge a little better. Hopefully, the pass rush is a little better. Playing on the road in Jacksonville will be difficult by no means, and I'm not saying that the 49ers are going to blow out the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I will take the 49ers in this game. I'm going to say 28-24. Niners squeak away with a win. I think they get back on track. I think it's a better game defensively. I think the 49ers defense, finally wakes up and we see some pressures and some sacks. And I think they get Trevor Lawrence in a position where, he throws that one or two interceptions. And I think that's enough for the 49ers to walk away out of Jacksonville with the win. So, again, I think Brock Purdy just needs to kind of take a step back, get back to the fundamentals. I think that's the theme for this game, is getting back to the fundamentals wins the 49ers this game. Getting back to what they do best, getting to the quarterback, not just pressure-wise, but getting sacks on Trevor Lawrence and running the football. That's what the 49ers will have to do to win this game. And I think they'll do that great on Sunday. I'm interested to see how Brock Purdy will bounce back after a couple rough weeks. But all in all, I think he'll make the necessary plays in order for the 49ers to win this game. So give me the Niners 28-24. But again, as far as this being a blowout, it's not going to be a blowout. The Jaguars have a very, very good football team. They'll make it close. I think it'll be close until probably the third, fourth quarter, and then I think the 49ers will make the necessary plays in order to win this football game. So Niners win 28-24. Lock it in. But yeah, this is a Jaguars team that should not be overlooked. They haven't lost since September. But I think all in all, in terms of where the 49ers are at, knowing that Kyle Shanahan and this team has lost way too many games than what they should have lost up until this point in the season, I think Kyle Shanahan is going to be on his A game Sunday. I think he's going to do everything he can to win the football game, and I think he does that. And I think this is more of an opportunity game for the Jaguars, and then you look at it for the 49ers, and it's looking at, the NFC playoff picture, this is in a way a must-win game for the 49ers. And I think, knowing that Kyle Shanahan could lose his fourth game in a row, I don't think he lets that happen. Again, this is a game where the 49ers need it more than Jacksonville. And I look at this game for Jacksonville, and I'm thinking more of an opportunity type of game for them. And I think that's why, the 49ers will come out and be playing their best football. So we'll see how well my prediction holds, but give me the Niners. I think they get back on track finally, and I think I can come on here Sunday night or Monday morning and talk about how the 49ers were able to get back on track, get to the quarterback, and how well they were able to run the football. So we shall see what happens, but I like the 49ers in this game a lot more than I did against the Bengals. And again, I think Kyle Shanahan, knowing that he could be losing his fourth straight game, I don't think he lets that happen. I think the wizard himself, Kyle Shanahan, will get this team back on track and back into the winning column.